What is going on, peasants? My name is JV and welcome here today to the best build guide for every Pokemon in Pokemon Unite. We're going to be going alphabetically through each mon and discussing the best items and attacks to use on each mon in the game. It's going to be a great time. But before we do that, I'm going to ask you guys to please click like, please click subscribe. We recently hit 400 subs on the channel. I would like to make the push to 500 a lot quicker. So if you're new here and enjoy the content, please consider subscribing. This is also going to be the start of a new series, and this is a series that I've seen Crashy and Chris Heroes both make content on in Pokemon Unite. It's going to be an A to Z series. We're also, after this video, going to be playing through a game with each of these builds and discussing them more in depth. So we're going to be doing 1 to 2 vids a day on each Pokemon. So come back as we work our way through the Pokemon in the game A to Z. Like I said, I know Crashy and Chris Heroes have done similar series to this, but I actually took my inspiration from a Heroes of the Storm creator called MF Palytime. I'll leave his link as well as Crashy's and Chris's in the description. Go check them out. They're all great content creators. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop on into the best build guide for each Pokemon, updated mid season 3, by the way. All right, let's do it. With Absol, it's all about the critical hit rate and doing giant amounts of burst damage. Razor Claw and Scopelands are must-haves here. The last slot is usually reserved for Buddy Barrier just for the extra survivability and value it provides to your team, but both bands are also decent options here. For attacks, Nightslash is the easy choice as it provides the most damage in Absol's kit, as well as some much needed mobility. As far as the other move goes, I'm a little bit back and forth. I personally prefer Psycho Cut just because the slows are really brutal and it really helps out your auto attacks, and just it sets up some really big Night Slashes. So that's the one I usually go with, but the outplay potential of Sucker Punch can't be ignored. Aegislash is a little bit of a weird one. After all this time, I'm still not sure if it's good or not. With Solo Q in mind as the basis of this video, I'm going to suggest running a standard setup of Muscle Band, Focus Band, and Buddy Barrier. These items are the best in the game for a reason. They all add excellent value to Aegislash's most important stats, although crit items and stacking builds also work quite well on Aegislash. For moveset, I like the damage output and mobility of Shadow Claw and the ease of use of Iron Head. Use your Iron Head on cooldown out of combat to build your stacks, initiate fights with Shadow Claw, dash through enemies with your auto attack, click Iron Head, and repeat. Blastoise is one of the best solo queue defenders in the game. It has a huge presence on the map with any of its abilities and one of the best Unite moves in the game. For items, I like a combination of Muscle Band, Buddy Barrier, and Score Shield. Blastoise really appreciates the extra bulk of Double Shield. Also, you never know when scoring late game will win you the game, and in solo queue especially, that can't be overstated. Muscle Band really helps with early game secures and overall damage output, as Blastoise should be spamming its auto attacks as much as possible. Score Shield can be swapped out for Focus Band if you find yourself getting KO'd too easily, but that's entirely up to you. And in terms of builds, at the time of recording this, Rapid Spin Water Spout recently got a buff and the damage is bugged, so I'm going to suggest you run the Hydro Pump Surf build, as it's certainly no slouch in terms of damage in its own right, as well as providing Blastoise with some of the best crowd control moves in the entire game. Blissey is the best pure support in the game. It's also the most dependent on teammates Pokemon in the game. Blissey's kit is truly incredible, but if your team doesn't take advantage of it, your impact on the game is almost non-existent at times. The items are pretty straightforward: Buddy Barrier, Score Shield, and Focus Band. It's pretty difficult to stop a Blissey scoring less than 30 points, so look to score early and often. Buddy Barrier is obvious as you provide a massive shield to whoever unites, so throwing out a second one is pretty cool. Focus Band keeps Blissey alive when getting dove, allowing it to escape fights it probably shouldn't. Special attack specs are an interesting choice if you know you're going to be playing soft mode going in. Speaking of, for abilities, Helping Hand is one of the best moves in the game. The attack speed and movement speed buffs are just great. It's not even a choice between that and Egg Bomb. For your second move, however, if the enemies have a ton of CC or Slow Smokes, go Safeguard. For more brawly or burst damage focused teams, take Soft Boiled. Charizard is one of my most played Pokemon personally, but it can sometimes struggle to find a role, especially in solo queue. It has a pretty rough early game and it really benefits from the jungle, but randoms exist and it's not always possible to get jungle, but try it if you can. Charizard is a Pokemon that has been locked into the same 3 items for a while, but they're all amazing on it: Scopelands, Muscle Band, and Buddy Barrier. Charizard spams its auto attacks as much as anyone in the game, so Muscle is pretty obvious. And once you evolve at level 9, you have a 30% crit rate on your basics, so scope it up, spam them even more. Buddy Barrier is simply the best item in the game, and Charizard's Unite charges among the fastest in the game, so get yourself a little bit of extra bulk, throw out some shields for your teammates, can't really go wrong. Best build on Charizard is, in my opinion, Flamethrower and Fire Blast. The previous buff allowing it to move while casting them is one of the best changes a Pokemon has gotten thus far in the game. Fire Punch isn't a bad move either if you feel yourself needing the extra dash. Cinderace is simply a character with no flaws. It has the best basic attacks in the game and great movement abilities. A Unite move that is both great at executing enemies and stealing objectives. For solo queue, it is a clear top choice. Cinderace's best item build is Muscle Band, Scope Lens, and Buddy Barrier. Muscle is, again, an easy choice considering its auto attacks are the best in the game. Cinderace can also crit with its autos, as well as Blaze Kick being an automatic crit, so just pump out even more damage with your Scope Lens. And then Buddy Barrier provides some extra bulk and can save teammates in a pinch. Razor Claw can be used over Scope Lens if you prefer, but doesn't really matter. And this is a little bit of a cop-out, but all of Cinderace's abilities are great. Blaze Kick gives Cinder great mobility and its highest overall damage output. Powerball is great for stealing objectives. Feint is good if the enemies have a lot of burst damage, and the upgraded version even heals you with your auto attacks. And Flame Charge adds even more ability. You truly cannot go wrong with this Pokemon. Cramorant is among the most fun Pokemon to play in the game. Unfortunately, the devs seem to have it out for our derpy little burb. Several unnecessary nerfs and very little mobility make it tough but not impossible to win with in solo queue due to it being a great bully in lane early, and with a lead, Cram can do great things. Items for Cram are a bit varied, but my top 3 choices for it are Buddy Barrier, Choice Specs, and Energy Amp for the most damage output possible. Swap out Amp for Focus Band if you feel the need for extra survivability. After the recent nerfs to Dive Air Slash, Cram's best build is easily Surf Hurricane. Hurricane provides excellent CC, and Surf can as well, but it's your main source of burst damage. Use your Knight to zone enemies off objectives or your zones, but be ready to cancel it and run with the move speed buff it gives you because you are quite literally a sitting duck. Crustle is another Pokemon the devs seem to have it out for. Ever since Crustle lost its ability to crit on South Rock, it's been in a pretty rough spot. Just about the only thing Crustle does truly well is score, and it does it as well as any mon in the game. Crustle actually has a wide array of items that it can use. The 2 primary ones are going to be Score, Shield, and Buddy Barrier, as they allow Crustle to solo carry games with the scoring. The 3rd slot can be used on either Focus Band or Scope Lens. Scope for X-Scissor builds, Focus for Stealth Rock scoring builds. It is also one of the few Pokemon that benefit from Eos Cookie to get a bigger score shield, though it's not a necessity. Attack weight can also be an option for fun pure damage builds. Crustle's abilities come down to a choice between Stealth Rock or X-Scissor. Shell Smash is an easy choice over Rock Tomb, turning Crustle into a speed demon, letting it get around the map at will. Go X-Scissor on damage builds to be a lane bully with great CC. Stealth Rock, despite losing its crit chance, is easily the best one of the best objective still moves in the game when paired with Fluffy Tail. Smash up, throw your rocks on Dread, pop your Fluffy Tail, GG. Decidueye is an incredibly fun Pokemon. It's also, unfortunately, a pretty bad Pokemon. It suffers from probably the worst mobility in the game and is also extremely squishy, not being able to survive the slightest burst damage. It can, however, put out insane damage in its own right, and with good positioning and aim can more than hold its own in a solo queue environment. Decidueye needs a Muscle Band as Scope Lens. The best part of its kits are its basic attacks, spam them. The 3rd slot is a bit more fluid. I prefer Energy Amp just to delete opponents with Spirit Shackle. Focus Band or Buddy Barrier are also options for extra bulk, but they tend not to do much in my experience. For abilities, Razor Leaf offers great shred damage from its already great basic attack. Spirit Shackle is the most fun move in the game. It offers amazing burst damage and objective stealing. Leaf Storm is good at keeping enemies away from Decidueye and can stun them if they're close to a wall. Shadow Sneak gives Decidueye its only form of mobility, albeit not great mobility. Pick based on the enemies. Bulkier teams go Razor, more squishies go Shackle. Leaf Storm if they have a lot of melee, Sneak for range. Dragonite is an incredible solo queue carry. It has a Unite move that allows it to score at any moment and one of the best objective secures in the game. Dragonite is another Pokemon with a great basic attack, so Muscle Band is a must. Buddy Barrier and Score Shield make Dragonite an unstoppable scoring machine. Focus Band is an option, as are the crit items if you want to go a more damage focused build. Dragon Dance is a must-have on Dragonite. Extreme Speed is just nowhere near as useful. Outrage is fun and can do great damage, but Hybrid Beam is overall just better. It doesn't have the self-stun that Outrage does, and despite the recent nerfs, it's still quite strong. It is also the single best objective secure attack in the game, although our next Pokemon might have something to say about that. Duraludon at the time of recording is the most recent release and is pretty overpowered at the moment. It has great basic attacks that power up an ability with absolutely ridiculous range. Muscle Band is once again a must-have as you're constantly spamming your basic attacks. Scope Lens allows your basics to pump out even more damage. Buddy Barrier is nice for the extra bulk, but Focus Band is also an option if you feel like you don't need the damage over Scope Lens. So Flash Cannon is cool, Dragon Pulse might just be the best move in the game. It has massive range, does insane burst damage, especially with the stacks from your auto. Learn the timing with max stacks and you'll never lose a Dreadnought again. Dragon Tail and Stealth Rocks are both great. Dragon Tail is better most of the time as Duraludon really appreciates the mobility, and the stun is actually underrated. Rocks are cool to hold down a lane to prevent scores or throw in a bush to catch enemies. Eldegoss is a Pokemon with incredible sustain, be it for itself or its teammates. It provides everything from shields to speed buffs to solid damage output, and not to mention an ultimate that heals a ton and also does great damage simultaneously. It's a truly do-it-all mon. Eldegoss also has quite a few items it can get away with. My favorite is a more traditional build of Muscle Band to help with early secures and get more value out of the constant basic attack spam. Buddy Barrier because it's just the best item in the game, and Score Shield to keep yourself in games if need be. Focus Band is an option if you don't find yourself scoring often. And Eldegoss is also a mon that can run a damage build quite well, so slap on any of the glasses and pump out some unexpected damage. People will also suggest experience share, but I'd stay away from it, especially in solo queue. You never want to purposely put yourself behind, especially in solos. And this is another cop-out answer, but all of Eldegoss's moves are great and all interchangeable. Leaf Tornado is your best objective still, aside from your Unite move. Pollen Puff does both damage and heals both Eldegoss or its team. Cotton Guard is your go-to for shielding and healing your team, and Cotton Spore does some sneaky good damage. Choose based on items or if you feel the need to carry. Garchomp is one of my favorite Pokemon to play personally, and for a while it was pretty rough. After some recent buffs though, Garchomp is finally in a solid place. It has 2 viable builds and absolutely shreds things with his basic attacks. Since Dragon build can no longer crit, Chomp really has a few viable items. Muscle Band is obvious as Chomp's basic attacks are the most important part of its kit. Buddy Barrier for the extra bulk, team benefits, and keeping Chomp alive during its admittedly meh Unite move. The last slot is usually reserved for Focus Band, as the healing pops from it keep Chomp alive in fights it should lose, but Score Shield is also useful because the early scores help Chomp get ahead on levels early and stay ahead, which is more important on Chomp than most other characters in the game. Razor Claw is a niche option for maximum damage output, but you'll feel extremely squishy. For attacks on Garchomp, you have 2 options, Dragon Build or Ground Build. Go Dragon Build if the enemies are more ranged or squishy. For bulkier, more melee focused teams, play the Ground Build. Gardevoir is one of the highest damage dealing characters in the game. It's usable in lane but excels in the jungle. One of the most devastating Unite moves in the game if landed, and some excellent synergy with its abilities make Gardevoir a damage demon. Items on guard are pretty straightforward. Buddy Barrier because it's simply the best item in the game. Muscle Band to speed up your jungle clears / pump out more damage throughout the game. Choice Specs are the preferred special attack boosting item as Guard thrives on burst damage from its abilities. Swap out Muscle Band for Focus Band if you want the extra survivability, and Wise Goss is an alternate option over either band if you feel the need for even more damage. Gardevoir is another Pokemon that really doesn't have a bad move, but one build does stand out as significantly stronger at the moment. Psychic Future Sight is among those strongest burst combos in the game and synergizes extremely well with Psychic slowing enemies, making it easier to get the resets with Future Sight and deal massive amounts of damage. Psyshock and Moonblast are also viable, especially Moonblast, but Psychic Future Sight is the way to go right now. Gengar has been in a rough spot for a very long time, and while a buff in the most recent patch certainly helps, it's still not the best. A Pokemon that excels in jumping in and assassinating enemies, it deals great burst damage but has no mobility to escape afterwards, leaving it a sitting duck. Choice Specs are Gengar's best item to provide even more burst. Focus Band helps Gengar stay alive as much as possible, and the last slot can be either Score Shield or Buddy Barrier. Buddy because it's just the best item in the game, and Score Shield to you get extra XP from scoring and keep Gengar ahead on levels. Triple Glasses is an option on Gengar, but it's extremely difficult to stack with this Pokemon. Shadow Ball Dream Eater combos extremely well and probably deals the most overall damage in Gengar's kit. Sludge Bomb Hex is pretty strong as well, but leaves Gengar more at risk to getting dove by enemies. Greedent is just the worst. Just kidding, it's very good. It is the single most annoying Pokemon in the game with survivability second to none, a scoring machine, and can also shred objectives with Bullet Seed. Score Shield and Buddy Barrier are must-haves on Greedent, allowing it to score at will. Focus Band is great for keeping Greedent alive on excursions throughout the map. And stacking items like Attack Weight and even Aeos Cookie are options for Greedent as it appreciates the extra HP or damage. My preferred build on Greedent is Bullet Seed Stuffed Cheeks. Bullet Seed is Greedent's best objective shred, and Stuffed Cheeks provides a burst of healing that is better for survivability. Greninja is one of the best solo queue carries in the game. Great mobility, a unique basic attack, attacks that heal itself, letting it stay in fights longer and deal excellent damage, not to mention a Unite move built for stealing objectives. Muscle Band is once again a must-have on Grin, as you want to be using your basics all the time. Buddy Barrier because it's Buddy Barrier, and Scope Lens for the extra pop of damage on your enhanced basics. Focus Band is cool too if you want the extra survivability over the Scope Lens. Double Team Water Shuriken is the choice for more consistent range damage, and Surf Smokescreen is the choice for burst damage and raw power, but you need to have enemies in range of a KO to get resets and set up highlight plays. Hoopa is one of the most unique Pokemon in the game. No Pokemon has more map control than Hoopa. It can be a bit rough in solo queue, but there isn't another Pokemon that can do the things this little trickster can. The Holy Trinity of Buddy Barrier, Muscle Band, and Focus Band are the go-to items on Hoopa, but Choice Specs are a good option over Focus for a more damage-oriented build. Shadow Ball is the easy choice over Phantom Force as it's simply better in every way. The real choice comes down to Hyperspace, Hole, or Trick. Hyperspace is the tool that makes Hoopa so unique, linking portals between the lanes and sending teammates back to base for healing. But in a solo queue environment, you can't rely on your randoms making use of them, but the potential of it is unmatched, not to mention its solid damage and stun to enemies. Trick, on the other hand, is among the best buffs in the game, giving Hoopa and a teammate a massive speed buff and shield, allowing Hoopa to use its basic attack and Shadow Ball from its ally, as well as putting out even more damage. All of this coupled with one of the best Unite moves in the game make Hoopa a true threat at any rank. Lucario has been one of, if not the best Pokemon in the game since launch. Numerous balance changes have done little to stop this Pokemon's dominance over the meta. Incredible attack scaling, a built-in focus band, unstoppable on cooldown, and decent mobility, this Pokemon does it all in both team play and solo queue. Attack Weight is Lucario's signature item. Extreme Speed and Power Up Punch are two of the best attack scaling moves in the game, so giving Lucario more attack power makes sense. The other slots depend on playstyle. Muscle Band gives Lucario more attack power and helps with early game secures. Razor Claw adds even more damage, and the slows can be brutal. Score Shield is an option if you're having trouble getting your stacks, but it's not required. Buddy Barrier and Focus Band are also viable simply because they're great. And for build, another cop out here, Lucario is broken. All 4 of its moves are fantastic. Try them all out and find which best fits your playstyle. Heat Speed is the best for shredding enemies. Power Up Punch deals crazy burst damage and is good for executing weak opponents and stealing objectives. Bone Rush adds crazy mobility to Lucario, and Close Combat provides even more burst damage and a bit of healing. Machamp is one of the few Pokemon that can rival Lucario in lane. Thanks to a recent buff to its early game, Machamp is a great laner that puts out a ton of damage and has one of the most devastating Unite moves in the game. Muscle Band is your first item choice on Machamp. The attack increase is nice and is especially noticeable in the early game. Buddy Barrier is the best item in the game, and Machamp appreciates the extra bulk. The last slot goes to either Scope Lens or Attack Weight depending on your playstyle. Both do wonders on Machamp. Other options you could go for are Score Shield to help with stacking, Razor Claw for massive damage numbers, or play it safe with a Focus Band. For attacks, Dynamic Punch and Cross Chop is my personal choice on Machamp, as the mobility Dynamic Punch provides really helps secure KOs in a pinch, and Cross Chop is a great objective still. Although Close Combat is great for stealing objectives in its own right, Submission is great too, but can be a little tricky. A lot of Pokemon can be unstoppable or full heal out of it. Thanks to a recent buff, they do still take the damage, but the big draw to Submission is a CC, so pick your targets carefully if you take it. Mamoswine is one of the best lane bullies in the game. It has multiple ways to freeze enemies, providing excellent CC. That being said, its overall damage leaves a bit to be desired, and its Unite moves among the worst in the game. For items, I prefer to go a full tank build, a Buddy Barrier, Score Shield, and Focus Band to keep Mamoswine in fights as long as possible. Muscle Band is an option to give Mamo a little extra oomph on its attacks, however. High Horsepower is the easy choice over Earthquake, as it provides just as good mobility and amazing displacement. The choice comes down to which Ice Move to take. For more range teams, play Icicle Crash. For melee teams, go Ice Fang. Mr. Mime is a bit of a weird support, playing more like a defender than anything and doing some sneaky good damage, although recent nerfs rein that in a bit. In all, Mime is able to lock down a lane and annoy opponents with endless stuns. Mr. Mime has 2 item slots that are locks, those being Buddy Barrier and Focus Band for the extra bulk and shields. The last slot depends on playstyle. I prefer Choice Specs for even more damage, but Score Shield is great too for even more bulk, and scoring does win games. To put it bluntly, Mime has one build that's viable, that being Confusion Barrier. Barrier provides walls that can prevent enemies from both chasing and escaping depending on the situation, and Confusion does good damage and stuns enemies when pushed into a barrier or any wall on the map. Sidekick is one of the worst attacks in the game. Don't bother. Guard Swap is fun, but hard to hit, even on allies, and can even help certain enemies. Stay away from this too. Ninetales just got one of the best buffs in the history of Unite so far, and it's very good at the moment. Another Pokemon that has multiple ways to freeze enemies and completely lock down a lane. Ninetales is a classic range mage that truly does impressive damage. Ninetales items are dependent on attack build more than most Pokemon, but 2 items are consistent across builds, those being Buddy Barrier and Focus Band. Buddy is just the best item in the game, and Anon really appreciates being kept alive in fights by Focus Band. The last slot is where it depends on build. On Aurora Veil builds, go with Muscle Band, as that build is all about using Anon's basic attacks as much as possible. On Blizzard builds, go with Choice Specs for extra burst damage. Any combination of the 4 items work well across either build, so go with what feels the best. Wise Glasses are an option for even more damage, though it's tough to fit in the build sometimes. The Aurora Veil Dazzling Gleam build was recently buffed, with Veil giving Ninetales a dash, which is just enough mobility to allow it to get out of sticky situations and pump out insane amounts of damage. Blizzard Avalanche is better for a more defensive playstyle, giving Anon the ability to shut down a lane. Pikachu is an excellent ranged attacker with one of the best early games in Unite. It does great AoE damage and annoys enemies with constant stuns. Add on to that the fastest charging Unite move in the game that is no slouch in terms of damage, and Pikachu is one of the best laners in Pokemon Unite. The go-to for items on Pikachu are Buddy Barrier, Muscle Band, and Choice Specs. Pikachu is one of the best Buddy Barrier users in the game since it has its Unite move so often. You're always spamming basic attacks, so take a Muscle Band, and Choice Spec give Pika an extra pop-up damage that helps secure KOs. Focus Band is an option over specs if you don't feel the need for the damage, and you can throw an Energy Amp onto if you just want to go crazy. Thunderbolt is Pikachu's best build. Thunderbolt has great value for being able to stun everyone in its AoE, and Thunder provides consistent damage that becomes easier to land after Thunderbolt. Electro Ball is good too, paired with T-Bolt, but the damage just isn't the same, although it's probably better for securing objectives. Volt Tackle is fine, but T-Bolt does its job better and keeps Pika at range, which it much prefers fighting at. Slowbro is one of the hardest characters to KO in all of Unite. A great passive paired with some of the most annoying CC make it one of the most self-sufficient Pokemon in the game. A Unite move that can stop every Pokemon in the game in its tracks and being excellent at securing farm early, Slowbro is easily among the best solo queue defenders in the game. My go-to items on Slowbro are Muscle Band, Buddy Bear, and Score Shield. Muscle Band helps Slowbro secure and still farm early, and you're swimming your basic attacks all game, so getting the extra damage is nice. Buddy Bear is self-explanatory at this point, and Score Shield gives the extra bulk and can win games. Focus Band is an option if you're dying often, and Choice Specs are fun too if the opposite is true. For attacks, the choice comes down to Amnesia or Telekinesis. Surf is just too valuable to consider Scald. Surf, CC, and Objective Secure are the best part of Slowbro's kit. Although Scald is fun, it's useless on a special attacking Pokemon. Amnesia is better than Telekinesis most of the time, as it keeps Slowbro alive and in fights, but Telekinesis can really disrupt enemies, but if your team doesn't target the things you catch, the value just isn't there. Snorlax has seen better days, but it's still a huge threat if used properly. Tackle is one of the best first attacks in the game and gives Lax a truly dominant early game. It does fall off a bit late game and can struggle with ranged characters, but if Snorlax is able to keep its enemies close, it provides immense value to its team. Snorlax has one of the highest HP stats in the game, so Buddy Bear and Score Shield provide great value to Snorlax, making it even tankier. Focus Band is nice too, letting Snorlax stay in fights and continue to push around enemies. Muscle Band or crit items are options specifically on flail builds, so that's worth noting. Heavy Slam Block, however, is Snorlax's best build. It's all about displacing enemies and creating space for teammates. Also, Heavy Slam, once you get the timing down, is among the best moves in the game for sealing objectives. Block is top tier annoying, stunning enemies and not letting them be where they want. It also pushes people off score zone while they're trying to score, which can save games. Leon is more of a damage focused build, but really struggles against ranged characters, and the damage simply isn't high enough to keep people from just walking away, so play that with caution. Sylveon is yet another great range damage dealer. Evolving at level 4 allows Sylveon to turn into a truly dominant force early in games. It falls off hard late game, but as long as it's ahead, Sylveon is a problem that not many Pokemon can stand up to in 1v1 fights. Sylveon is another Pokemon that runs items based on build. Buddy Bear is ran on both, as are Choice Specs. The third slot is either Muscle Band or Focus Band. Hyper Voice runs Focus Band, and Mystical Fire takes Muscle. Wise Glasses are an option if you don't feel the need for either band. For attacks, Calm Mind is used on both builds as it offers just more value than Draining Kiss. Hyper Voice is, in my opinion, far better than Mystical Fire, as the damage output is better, but at the cost of being harder to hit sometimes. Mystical Fire does give Sylveon more mobility and is basic attack focused, but the targeting is a bit weird, and more often than not, it will end up attacking Corphish rather than enemies. Talonflame is one of the best solo queue Pokemon in the game. Excellent burst damage and the best mobility in the game make it one of the best damage dealers we have. It also has its Unite move in nearly every fight, allowing it to do even more damage. For items, take Buddy Bear, as you'll be giving out shields early and often. Razor Claw makes it even harder for Pokemon to escape Talon, and Score Shield gives Talon more bulk and can win games. Going Scope Lens or Muscle Band is great if you don't score often. Talon also stacks well with attack weight, but it can be hard to stack from the central area. And try not to play this Pokemon in lane, by the way. And one of my personal favorites is an Energy Imp. Because you get your Unite so often, you can do even more damage and just delete things with Brave Birds after using it. Brave Bird Aerial Ace is Talon's best build at the moment. Brave Bird resets the cooldown of Aerial Ace if Talon hits a boosted attack. Aerial Ace gives you a boosted attack on use, so you can Brave Bird in, Aerial Ace once, auto attack, Aerial Ace again, and one shot pretty much every squishy in the game. Fly and Flame Charge is better for mobility and scoring a ton, but the damage just isn't the same. Trevenant is rough, especially in solo queue, but really fun. It has one of the hardest early games in the game and doesn't exactly do a ton of damage, but it is extremely hard to KO and has one of the best Unite moves in the game. It just doesn't fill the role of a defender better than the other options in the game. The best items for Trevenant are Buddy Barrier, Score Shield, and Focus Band. Give this thing as much HP and survival as possible. Trev is one of the Pokemon that Aeos Cookie does work really well on, and Muscle Band is viable too, but its basics still won't be doing much. Hornleech is Trevenant's best attack. The healing from it is what makes Trev one of the hardest Pokemon to KO in the game, as well as doing great CC. The choice is between Woodhammer and Curse. Woodhammer is the best bet for damage, but Curse lets you spam Hornleech more. Choose Woodhammer if the enemies are more squishy, and choose Curse if they're bulkier and fights will be longer and more drawn out. Tsareena is one of the best brawlers in Pokemon Unite. It has excellent survivability and can deal tremendous burst damage. It's a bit weird in that it has a rough early game and also a rough late game. Tsareena excels in the middle parts of the game, after first dread and pre-zap fight. Tsareena's items are extremely build dependent. For triple Absol builds, a combination of Muscle Band, Razor Claw, and Focus Band gives the most value, whereas Stomp is one of the best stacking moves in the game. So attack, weight, score, shield, and either Focus Band or Razor are the choices. I think the Stomp build is the better choice at the time of recording, so I'd lean that direction if you're just starting out with the character. As previously mentioned, Stomp is Tsareena's best move at the moment. It does great burst damage, which helps with KOs and objectives. It also heals more than triple Axel. Grassy Glide or Chop Kick is purely personal preference. I prefer Chop Kick as the slow makes it easier to land big Stomp. Venuasur has been at the top of the meta for quite some time in both solo queue and team play. The best boosted basic attack in the game, the best sustain in the game, and a great Unite move have kept Venu on top for so long. Venusaur is another Pokemon where the Holy Trinity reigns supreme: Muscle Band, Focus Band, and Buddy Barrier. Venusaur's basic attacks are among the best in the game. Focus Band adds to Venusaur's already elite sustain, making it even harder to KO, and Buddy Barrier is simply the best item in the game. Choice Specs or Wise Glasses are options for fun Solar Beam builds, but you'll feel very vulnerable. Giga Drain Pedal Dance is one of the best builds in the game. Giga Drain does respectable damage and heals Venusaur, keeping it in fights longer. Pedal Dance has a massive AoE and deals a ton of damage. It also gives Venusaur movement speed that can be used to chase down KOs or escape. Not to mention, it lowers the cooldown of Giga Drain, letting you use it more often. Truly an S tier build in every sense. Sludge Bomb Solar Beam isn't bad either, it's just less great. Wigglytuff is a true demon, the best passive ability in the game, one of the best CC moves in the game, stuns, massive HP, and the best non-damaging Unite move in the game make this Pokemon a great choice in any scenario. For Wiggly's items, it's all about bulk. Buddy Barrier is obvious, Score Shield wins games and gives you more HP, and Focus Band keeps you alive in crucial moments. Take all three and laugh at the enemies trying to KO you. Sting and Dazzling Gleam is the way to go on Wigglytuff. Double Slap is okay, but Dazzling Gleam is simply better. Comparable damage, and yet another form of CC, take it over the top. Put simply, Sing is one of the best moves in the game. Sleeping enemies and lowering their defense is just insane value, not to mention the movement speed buff can be huge too. Rolla is fun and can do good damage if you catch an enemy between walls, but it's mostly used on score comps and can be hard to control. Sing is just better most of the time. Zeraora is a great solo carry, useful in both lane and in jungle. It is great in both 1v1 fights and in team fights. Where it struggles though is in its level up moves, not learning its best attack until level 8 and its Unite move at level 10, so it can take a while to get going, but once it does, look out. Muscle Band is a must-have on Zeraora. The attack speed and extra damage are huge. The other two slots depend on build. For discharge builds, go with double crit to shred enemy and objectives HP. For wild charge, the extra survivability of Focus Band is needed. Buddy Barrier is always a great option too. Volt Switch Discharge is in my opinion the best Zeraora build for solo queue, as it is amazing for shredding objectives, doing massive damage to multiple enemies, which helps make up for Zeraora's lack of range. Spark Wild Charge is a great build too, but can feel clunky and hard to use at times. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Let me know what you think of every build. Let me know what you think I got wrong, what you think I got right. Let me know what Pokemon you're most excited to see me play. I'm very much looking forward to this new series and having a lot of fun with it, so be sure to check back. Every day we're gonna be, again, dropping 1 to 2 Pokemon videos each day, and it's gonna be a great time. Really hope you guys all will come back looking for more, and hope you guys will, subscribe. Please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Alright guys, peace.